Oh, there's that sun. Hey man, welcome back to Man Time. Today's episode, we are going to try to get the steering finally fixed on this. I think I found the missing piece of the puzzle, right? Trying to go from Flex 4 to Flex 5 and not spend the $1,200 on the kit. Well, I'm kind of trying to backtrack into the fix now. I would have spent the $1,200 because I need a tractor. I need to cut hay. It's that time of the year. The field is going crazy and I don't have a tractor that'll steer. So let's see if we can fix it up and do the conversion kit to go from Flex 4 to Flex 5. The Flex 4 stuff is dead and gone. Nothing used or available anywhere. eBay, aftermarket, sellers, whatever. Nobody has one, so we're going to Flex 5. Welcome to Man Time. So if you don't know all that Flex 4, Flex 5 stuff, in this series of tractor that's 50, 60, 70 horse, they use kind of the same thing, right? It was what was called a Flex 4, and it's the hydrostatic steering pump at the bottom of the steering wheel. Now they discontinued that model. There's zero stock, not available on their website or through any of the dealers or anything nationwide. Not available. It would have been nice just to buy that replacement pump and put it in and go on about my business. But I've already replaced, so the pump that's driven off the engine, I replaced that. I went through the hydrostatic pump at the end of the steering wheel. So it's not anything that would be like obvious, right? I've already rebuilt the steering cylinder, checked all the lines, bled them out, like everything is good. Filter in the reservoir in the tank. So what do you need for the Flex 4 to Flex 5 conversion if you're in the same predicament? I finally figured out there was one forum and one guy talking about he got his conversion kit. And what it comes with is this new style of pump, and it comes with all of the hard lines to connect this style pump to the actual pump. And then it comes with a new steering column. Now this is what I've been waiting on and trying to find. And if I forgot to mention it, my local Mahindra dealer, they decided to go with a different brand of tractor. Now they're selling Massey Ferguson. So they are not available to help me. So I was trying to get parts from the nearest dealer now, which is 60 miles away, hour away. And they couldn't help me over the phone, right? And then so I got on the website. It's like Mahindra USA Parts or something like that. And I ended up finding just the steering column available, but the parts guy at the store was like, yeah, I don't see anything. I was like, well, I already got the pump, what can you do as far as like the rest of the kit? And it wasn't even listed on the website, on the dealer's website. Like there wasn't anything there. They're like, well, we can just order the kit. I was like, well, I've already got the pump, so anyways, I ended up finding it. There's like 4 different pages of parts breakdowns. This was on one of them, and it said specifically on there, this is the Flex 5 shaft. So this looks like what I need, right? It's got the Audi coming out the bottom of it. It's going to hook up on here into this thing. Yes, the pieces fit. Alright, so I think we're there, minus the hard lines, right? The hard lines came in that kit. I think, manipulate them, and I figured out, like, what all these are. So it's got T, L, P, R. So this is, T is tank, so that's going to be this one. This is going to be your return line. L is going to be left, R is going to be right, so these are the left and right hoses going to the actual steering cylinder, and then P is pump, coming pressurized from the pump. So with those, I can get in here and label the hard lines as I'm taking it apart, and then just make sure they go to the right spots, maybe with a little bending, twisting, manipulating their hard lines. So I'll probably have to break them loose. Oh, I'm going to have to break them loose from both ends anyway. That was the easiest way to get the old hydrostatic unit out, back in, so on and so forth. Got to take the steering wheel off, of course, and figure out how to get this thing out of the dash. But it looks like once the pump is off the bottom, it should just slip out with that steering wheel off the top of it. That is going to be the plan. And it looks like this one is made in Turkey. So there you go. So this one is part number 007610310C91. You can, like I said, buy this individually, but they may not be able to look it up at the shop, so you got to get on the website. And then, so this one is part number 007205734B92. And looks like I've got everything I need to get going here. I'm going to start disassembling on the tractor, and then we'll see if we can figure out how to get all this stuff installed and see if it works. It's my last resort. And I got some, new return lines. Some of the return lines going back and forth from the pump started leaking, and they're, pretty wore out. So I'm just going to go through the whole thing, flex 5 it, and see if we can get it going. Basically the same thing as the part 1 of this whole tractor won't steer series. Basically taking all the hard lines off, taking the exhaust off, and then finally getting in here, to the hydrostatic unit, removing all of the hard lines. I've still got it mounted to the steering, but I've got the bolt off the top of the wheel there, and it is a tapered and keyed shaft. I've got some blaster soaking it down, but man, it is extremely hot and humid. You can just see the, this is the damage from the storm, but like out there is just all like thick, rich, lush underbrush, trees, of course, but that what that does is creates all this humidity. It is just so humid right now. And the, you can see the grass and the hay and the field just going crazy. So I think I'm about ready to pack it up. It's about to be 110 in the shade, and I will continue on in the evening. Well, if you find yourself in the odd situation that I'm in, where you've got a pump and then you can't return it and you've got your money back, and then you somehow manage to get the steering shaft to make everything work together, one thing I should mention, the first thing I tried to do was find some of these splined, just a spline shaft like that, right, that I could cut to length that would travel between the existing steering shaft and then this new pump. It's a really odd size. Doesn't seem to be American or, SAE or metric. So they couldn't really size it at a lot of the places that I went to that specialize in shafts, bearings, rotating equipment. Then, so it looks like here we've got T, L, R, and P. So T on this new one is going to be to tank. And then P is going to be pump. Yeah, pump here. So it's basically the exact opposite of this one. So this one is going to be pump on top, left, right, and then tank on bottom. And so this one is, return on top, pump on bottom. If I'm reading this right. See, it's sideways. So TLRP. So TLRP is how I'm reading that, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, this one's better labeled here. You got pump on top, LR, and then nothing on the bottom one, but you get 3 out of 4, and you can figure the other one out, I guess. I'm really wondering if this is what's going on here, because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 4 here. So, looking at this, I would think that it would be the same here, and maybe this is left and right. If you were to put, because this went here, left and right's here, pump is here, this is here, left and right here, pump is, I don't know. It says pump on bottom, though. Just hard to say. So I'm going to try this, see if it works. We will see. I mean, there's no instructions or, like, you know, any documentation or anything. And it doesn't really, you know, the parts diagram doesn't have this in it. This is the replacement upgrade for this, so I'm just kind of guessing. And it's much smaller. See, I mean, it'd be nice to figure out why that one quit working. But again, I mean, it's rotating equipment, right? There's this shaft inside of there that is constantly wearing on the wall where it's supposed to be sealing, and eventually it wobbles, you know, just like a piston in a cylinder. Any sort of rotating equipment. So anyways, I'm going to get this put back together, and then every one of those hoses is going to have to come out, and I'm going to have to individually you know, make all of the hoses fit this new arrangement. So I'll just start at the bottom and work my way up. And then probably find out that this is left and right, and this is supposed to be pump versus this left and right, and this is yeah, we'll just have to figure it out as we go here, I guess. No using that to get up, I guess, huh? Alright, so I've got everything disconnected from the steering wheel shaft. You know, the throttle assembly isn't hooked up anymore and all that. So I think I'm pretty much there. I am just going to try to hammer it off. I had this soaking with Blaster. All day, and yeah, it's pretty stuck on there. Well, I disconnected the lower part of the steering wheel there, you know, separated it. There's nothing there. Well, I drove a wedge in on one side. I should be able now to get some kind of leverage on this pin, but it doesn't look like there's anything holding it. It just looks like it's stubborn. And it was. They've got, you know, they've got those two-jaw, like, U-joint Pitman arm puller deals. I broke mine the last time I was doing a set of lower ball joints. I think I was using it for that. Get that ball joint to separate. But I guess, well, now you know, right? Now you can, I guess, remove this. You have to remove this to then get your, you know, Pitman arm puller or whatever you're going to use to, if it's not coming out real easy, like this one didn't. Yeah, keyway went flying. But now I think we've got what we need to get to and get this out of here. Unless there's something else connected to it. We're just kind of hanging on to it in general here. Oh, yeah, we've got some wiring zip tied onto it there. We'll have to snip that, but now you know, take this lower part off, get some sort of wedge in there, and then hammer it out like that. Well, this is about as good of a view as I can get you. Basically what's happening is this needs to come down and into here, and with this new tube on there, looks like it's going to be slightly more difficult, but basically get it around in here, up on the shaft, and get a bolt started. Probably just the best thing to do here. So I've got this hose connected at the other end, and you can see here it's quite a ways off. It wants to be centered here, and now this is, you know, over here. So I need to kind of bend it, I think, at that side this way, and it should kind of line up over there. Well, here is the deal you're going to run into. And I don't know if you can tell there, but 2 of those nuts are not going to fit side by side like that with this new hydrostatic unit. So the adapter kit for $1,200 is probably what you really want to get if you run into this problem, because now I'm going to have to go to the hydraulic store, see if I can get some sort of extension that will screw into there. It's got an O-ring connection, and then see if I can figure something out from there. Oh, alright man, it's a couple days later, and I was able to actually engineer a solution to this problem, right? The problem is these big fittings are colliding, and then the fittings on these hard lines are colliding, trying to go into the new pump, which all of the ports are just a little bit closer. So I went down to my local hydraulic shop and said, hey man, I've got this pump. It's a new hydrostatic pump. The ports are too close. I need something smaller than the big ones that are in there, and they were able to find some smaller ones. Now, oddly enough, it's got SAE threads in to the pump, and then a metric thread coming out. So this is an actual SAE to metric adapter, and this is just SAE to SAE. And then they were able to make up some custom hoses that were SAE to metric. So all this cost me about 160, 180 bucks, I think, with tax, something like that. Let me get you in here and show you exactly what I'm talking about. We'll use this old pump as an example piece to show you what it's going to look like in the tractor, and then I'm going to put it all together. All right, here's the old pump, and here's what was going on, right? You've got these big fittings like right next to each other, and then you try to put this big fitting on top of it, and they were just like running into each other, right? The one that would be here and then this one. So the solution that they sold me at the hydraulic store is this. So you've got a much smaller fitting. Of course, now I'm going to have to, every time I work on this, go from SAE to metric, but I guess I was kind of doing that anyway. So this is going to be an 11/16, and then coming on to this one, instead of being the hard line, which I was like chewing up, like all over trying to make new bends. Like this one really turned out the worst as I was trying to make. Anyway, it's probably a good thing I went to soft lines. So then this is going to screw into here, and then this will screw in to the fittings that the hard line would have originally screwed into. And I think we're going to stick with metric there. Let me just double check. 22, no, 24, yeah. So one end is going to be your 11/16, and then one end is going to be 24 now. But so in reality, what happened was I could have spent $1,500 on the adapter, like full adapter kit with the new steering column, new pump, and then new lines, and then whatever they did here, which is probably something similar to what we're looking at. I ended up ordering the pump on Amazon for about $400. Got a refund on it. That's neither here nor there. And then ordered the column for $400, so that's $800. And then I spent another, let's just say, $200 on the hoses and fittings. I'm going to reuse this one. Is going to be the only one, because that one is pretty easily manipulatable, and it's got a soft line, you know, coming off the top of it. So anyways, I spent about $1,000, saved myself, you know, $400 if I didn't return that. So if you want to go this route, this is an option, going from Flex 4 to Series 5 on your Mahindra steering componentry when it eventually fails. Because this little pump, turning these huge tires on a single cylinder, it's just eventually going to fail, right? Here's all of those new hoses and fittings hooked up. The last piece of the puzzle then is going to be that return line. I'm still a little curious whether the letters on the side of the thing are actual representative of what's going on with that unit there. The top one there says left, the one closest to us says pump, and then the one on the top with the empty hole is the return. I just don't know. We'll see. Well, the one issue that I thought wasn't going to be an issue was this, because it comes out, you know, past what I thought would be anything getting in its way. But it's hitting right on one of those swedge fittings on the hose. I loosened up the hose, flattened some of these corners off of the nut. Be real honest, I was probably going to round those over with the wrench anyway, so now we're just putting it all back together as is. Okay, so here again, the cheaper option ended up costing me dearly. The top hose there, the return line, man, if those are not on there correctly, I am just going to absolutely flip out. But I managed to get all of them connected up here. You've got your main line coming from the pump there, return line in red, and then those two back there making up right and left, and we should be all good to go. So the entire steering system is redone at this point. Rebuilt cylinder that steers the wheels, new pump, new hydrostatic unit, hell, new column for the steering wheel. After all that, it was probably worth it just to buy the kit. So there again, that's 2 recommendations. If your hydrostatic unit goes out, just buy the kit. Well, normally I'm a pretty big proponent of taking the cheap and easy route, but this cost me so much time and effort, and what I was trying to avoid was like the, you know, month-long shipping from India, and it ended up taking me a month anyway to gather up all the right parts and figure out that I spent money on the pump, which I didn't need, but I took that hydrostatic unit apart. It didn't look too bad. I mean, yeah, I don't know. But buy the kit. If you suspect it's the hydrostatic unit, which it probably is because it's too small to turn these big tires. This one's even smaller, but at least you can get a replacement. Let's try it out. Alright, so predictions for the first startup here, actually process for startup with a new system like this. It's going to be dry, right? So we don't want to start it up and just go to hammering on it, which I'm doing with this because anyway. Let me get this put back in here first. Oh, that's never coming out of there. Alright, so it's dry. There's things moving freely, but there's no fluid in it. You need that pump to supply fluid to it, but when fluid does get into it, that's going to be doing something. So what I want to do, start it up, let the fluid start flowing, get the bucket quick, like lift the front tires up and then shut it down, crack the lines at the cylinder, and then work the steering wheel back and forth to get all the air out of the lines, I think. I don't know yet. I'm definitely going to get the front tires off the ground and then maybe start working it here because it's going to have fluid in it, right, once I actually start it up here. And by the way, if anybody wants some humidity, I mean, I could probably find 5 or 10 guys to help you load it up and take it back up north with you or wherever you want to take it. So, just FYI. Alright, I got a little over anxious there. I started moving the wheel. Okay, tires are still moving. Not moving back in this direction real easily. Oh, here they come. Alright, I think I can bleed the system out like this. Let me double check fluid levels. and then I'll get you where you can see the tires moving. But it looks like it's working so far. Alright, I got the fluid refilled. It's about... It was filling the tank up and then running the system. You know, you couldn't see the tires moving, but they moved. And they moved the right direction, so all good there. Filled it up again. We're going to try it out and then check the fluid one more time. Yeah, let's see it. High hopes so far. That's the first time this tractor has ever done that. I got to the end of the travel on the tires, and the steering wheel wouldn't turn. The steering wheel was locked. It's never done that before. It's never done that before. It's always just kept. I think I fixed it. Engine idle down. Completely fixed. Completely fixed. It's never done that. It's never got to the end of the travel and the steering wheel stops. Let's look over everything that we did here, see if there's any leaks, and then get ready to bale some hay. It's that time. Alright, here is looking in at the new steering column, the new hydrostatic pump, all the new lines and fittings, and the return line, and I don't see any leaks like anywhere. There probably would be one like underneath, you know, some of that stuff. We come around here and there's some wetness here, but that's from actually filling the reservoir. As far as like from here, this thing coming off of the pump, nothing there. Also off these lines here, I did figure out this banjo bolt. It's got a recess or a race around it where the fluid then flows through. I do need to do some things such as zip ties, you know, get all this stuff, you know, kind of zip tied together. No leaks though, no leaks. Alright man, that is going to do it for today on Man Time. Just a couple things I guess before we shut it down here and get ready to bale some hay. Again, humidity free in Texas, all you want, come and get it. The kit that you want to buy is called the Flex 4 HSU kit. One word, all caps. I've looked at it many, many times. I've got it memorized in my head. I was this close to ordering it, especially when, you know, those fittings were wrong. And I mean, just the frustration going through this. Order the kit. It's the third time I've said it. Last time I'll say it. The right way to do it is to order that kit, HSU 4 Flex 4 HSU kit. All one word. Other than that, you're going to the Series 5 steering. That is the first time that's ever worked. So I'm assuming I bought the tractor with that HSU already down or malfunctioning or something. Or maybe it was, you know, a faulty part. And rather than do a recall and, you know, give everybody the free $1,500 kit, you just have to buy it. And they were like crossing their fingers until they all start going out. So I'm assuming this is probably going to be more of a prevalent problem. But going through what I just went through there, it's a nightmare. Just a nightmare. And it was just as many weeks trying to round up all those different parts and then taking it to my hydraulic shop and getting the fittings that still aren't quite right. I had to round down the corners of that one return line tube extension, whatever it is. Not the best way to do it. So anyways, I'm going to get this stuff ready to bale some hay and go do that. Why don't you guys go do something? Get out there, have you some man time too.